Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Chip Off the Old Clark. With me today is an old friend of mine and one of the guys who used to give me a ton of shit when I didn't do what I was supposed to do, Andy Friyia. He is with the Mount Bridges Bulldogs organization, which you've heard me talk about probably multiple times at this point. And he's also an insurance agent.
Broker.
Sorry. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joey. Appreciate it.
Well, before we get into the hockey talk, because of course we were before this started.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. Just want to kind of get you to kind of run through what it takes to get into insurance, kind of personality traits, kind of that sort of thing.
Well, there's a lot of different avenues that you can do in the insurance industry. You know, you could be an underwriter, you could be a claims adjuster, you could be a broker. And one thing I'll say about the insurance industry is it's not something that you find. You know, in your whole life, you know, when you were in elementary school and you're in high school, do you remember anybody ever saying, you know, when I grow up, I want to be an insurance guy?
No, exactly.
I've met one, and I've been in the insurance industry probably since 1992.
Okay.
So, you know, my education is in engineering, and I think I just got married, and for whatever reason, I was out looking for a job, and I had some friends that said, why don't you come and give the insurance industry a try? So, my natural market at the time was pretty big based on the fact that I'd played a lot of golf and I was a member of Green Hills Country Club here in London. And I had the ability to talk to people from coaching, hockey that were much younger, to talking to guys at the golf course. So it basically took a natural market, which should be 30 years and maybe expanded it to 40. So I was pretty well connected with people, and it was a lot easier to talk to people about it because, you know, as we talked earlier, we talked about like and trust, and I'd like to think that those are two aspects of me, or maybe the ones that I'm most proud of, is that I think people like me and I think people trust me. So when you're talking about, you know, insuring your home, the water came in my basement on my cupboard. Yeah. Not only did it come in your basement, I'm glad that I'm going to be the guy who's going to help you through this. So, and that was really the what I did, and I started with Gulliver Insurance, which is now Hub, which is probably one of the biggest insurers in North America for sure. I mean, this is a guy who started selling insurance out of a pizza store in Leamington, Ontario, and it turned into Hub, which is multi-millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even $1 billion. Can't be sure. It was a great experience. You know, I didn't make a lot of money at the time. You know, it's based on what the model was, and I was getting paid at. What I learned awful early is that the only way for me to make money in the insurance industry was to be an owner. Okay. So I opened an insurance brokerage in St. Thomas. I can't even tell you what the date is. I'm going to say probably around 97, because my son was born in 99. It was before that. And it was a tough sled for a little while. You know, we had a partner at Chatham named Jim Harlock, who was the president of the Insurance Brokers Association of Ontario, so he brought a lot of credibility to the table. And but he didn't bring a lot of investment, so we were still struggling. But, you know, we were making the bill payments, and you know, I managed to somehow scrape up the money for the house that I have right now. And we needed some technology, and we needed markets. We needed insurance companies to sell for, so we partnered with a longtime insurance guy in town by the name of Peter McConville. The late Peter McConville. Honest as the day is long. You know, say what you want about second generation insurance guys, but this guy was pure of heart. He was a great guy. And Randy Carroll, with a guy that I'm actually partnered with now, it just took off. And it really came down to all of the efforts that I put in as trying to be that person that people like, people trust, and now I've got the tools to do it. So we ran that for probably, again, the dates escape me, but we ran that for a long time, and I ended up selling it to my interest to Peter and our other partner, Vicki Laux, who was probably one of the best insurance ladies in all of St. Thomas. And I went to take over a company called Pacific Marine. So Pacific Marine was unknown to anybody in Ontario. It was a Vancouver company. And, you know, here's a Cadillac. Yep. Start driving around, go start meeting people, and then just start establishing this network of people. And we built that from probably $0 to $12 million, which is probably my greatest accomplishment in the insurance industry. And it was fun. I got to see every province. You know, if you had told me that I was going to actually go see, Whistler, Vancouver, stick my toe in that ocean, stick my toe in the other ocean, and it says that I like it here in Ontario. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And when you see places like Banff Springs for a convention there, or Lake Louise, when I was last at Lake Louise, I remember I went down to the water. I was there for 4 days, and I went down to the water. It had to be 30 times. Couldn't take it in. It was huge. It was so beautiful and so huge that you just couldn't take it in all at once. And it was really sad the day I left. And that was the first. I remember standing outside having a cigar with the industry people. They like their scotch and they like their cigars, and I like scotch. and I'm watching this thing fly over. I guess Lake Louise is kind of like a big canyon, I guess. It's just sort of surrounded by mountains, and the water is just crystalline blue. And we're out there about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm going, holy cow, is that plane ever flying fast? And I says, that's not a plane. That's the International Space Station.
Wow.
So you got to be up there that high and that dark to see this thing come over. It was almost as clear as day. It was like this. It's like a little moon coming across. So, I mean, that was a great experience. They get to see, I got to see Regina, and I got to see Saskatoon. It's pretty flat. One of my favorite places to go was Winnipeg.
Really?
Yeah, Winnipeg. Northern Ontario, boy, it just seems that once you get north of Highway 7, or certainly north of the 49th parallel, everything seems to change. The people are all the same. They're all great people. And I went out there probably 10 years in a row and at the time of my life. And you've heard that joke about watching your dog run away for 7 days. It's true.
Yep.
It's true. I remember I think I was at the top of the top floor of the Fairmont Winnipeg, and just looking out, and how far you could see was amazing. And I always joke, on a clear day you can see Regina from Winnipeg.
Yep.
That's how flat it is out there. So I'm sure the curvature of the earth will stop that. So that was a great experience. Certainly did well with that one. Certainly built something that I could be very proud of. What I did, I kind of lost sight of what was important. You wake up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, you sit down at your desk and you underwrite until your wife grabs you by the ear and says, it's dinner time. You've been here for 12 hours, enough's enough. And that took a huge toll on my health. And I haven't even told you about this, but I you go to my doctor's office. The doctor says, I can go back a step further. Sitting in my office, I'll be brutally frank. And, looking at my watch saying, well, it's noon. It's time to go over to the Ore House and grab some beer and some wings.
Yep.
I did that yesterday. I did that the day before. I did that every day this week. I did it this month. When was the last day I went with a drink? Kind of scared myself. I knew I wasn't feeling good. So I went down to see my doctor. It was just down in Byron. He says, what's going on? I don't know, feel right. Why? I don't know. It's a friend of mine from Sault Ste. Marie. Friend of my family anyways. So, well, let's check your blood pressure. And it was 227 over something. And he said to me, he says, you know what, Andy? Someday this week. I'm not sure which day, but I know it's going to happen this week. You're going to have a heart attack or a stroke. Well, I do know what's happened this week. What the hell's going on with you? And it really, for those last 3 years, as in the corporate world, which is pretty scary, is when you're running an insurance company, the bar keeps getting set higher. And you keep trying to meet that bar. You meet that bar at all costs, the relationship with your wife, the relationship with your parents, the relationship you have with your own mental health, the relationship you have with just your health in general.
Yeah.
It was, I was scared. So he gives me medication, sends me away. I come back next week. And I come back and it's 175. He says, still dangerous, but it's better. He said, I can increase the medication, but it's not good to go low. So why don't we see where you are? Come back in 3 weeks and we'll do it again and see where you are. So I go back in 3 weeks and sit down with Dr. Rooney, and he says, okay, well, let's see where your blood pressure is. So he takes my blood pressure and it's 120 over 80. It's perfect. I went from dead to 120 over 80. And he said, what'd you do? I says, you remember when you told me that stress doesn't cause high blood pressure? He says, yeah. I quit my job. He said, get out of here. Because, it's vice president of an insurance company. You're not doing that for free. We'll just say that.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, my wife, who doesn't get enough credit for what she's done for me in my life, she was right. I was killing myself. So I went away for a year, took some time off. I went and hung out with Mortgage Professionals Canada. as their national membership director. And the president and CEO was a guy named Paul Taylor, still one of my oldest and trusted friends. I think he knew I was struggling. I think he knew that there was some health issues and maybe some mental health issues, and he took me under his wing and I spent a year with those guys. And I probably, if I was 35 years old and single, I'd probably still be there. The thing about being with Mortgage Professionals Canada is that your feet are in the air all the time. In 1 year I was in Vancouver twice. I was in all of those cities that I talked about, plus Halifax and a whole bunch of others. Fortunately, you're flying most of the time, so you're not standing behind the wheel doing what you have to do to get to the next town to do your job. But except if I was younger, if I was 35 and single, it'd be perfect.
Just move.
But I wasn't. I was early 50s and very happily married with 2 great kids. So
yeah.
But as far as this, and then my true love was the insurance industry, and I ended up coming back for which was once a competitor of mine at Pacific Marine, the Nautomax group. And I'm very grateful for those guys to bring me back to the insurance, because that's where I want to be. That's where I'm most comfortable. When you know the product inside and out, the network that I developed over those the first 20 some years of my career. You could pick up the phone and call anybody in any province and say, I'm having an issue with this, what would you do? Chances are you can find a guy on the other end of the line who's come up with a solution that you've been looking for years. They've already done it. So the networking opportunities were fantastic. The people that you meet. At the end of the day, I think, we talked about my son being in economics. And how much economics is in the insurance business it's over the top. So when they're dedicating that much time to the insurance component of the economics course, that it's a vital part of the economy and financially related. And with COVID, everybody went home. But the industry kept going on. It was fortunately the company that I was consulting for back then was, from a technology standpoint, was already positioned, but there were people out there that still had paper files. They couldn't take home. Based on the fact that we were in the early stages of the pandemic, there probably wasn't that big of a risk, but people had to get their stuff together so that they could actually operate as an insurance brokerage virtually. Fortunately, when I moved Pacific Marine to London, Ontario from Toronto, I had a staff of probably 7 or 8 people, all working virtually, so I had some experience. And so with the people I was working with down in Niagara, it was an easy move, and it was easy management from that standpoint. So I left Nautomax simply because I didn't really want to be on the road anymore. It was a long grind. And a good friend of mine said to me when I took the job with Pacific Marine, he says, all of this traveling and these hotels and flights might seem like fun. Like now, it's going to get really old really fast. And it was great for the longest time. So the funny thing is, he ended up selling his business to a BC company, so he's in airplanes all the time. And I would call him up and say, you know what? So right now I'm working with Randy Carroll, who is really the guy who changed my insurance career way back when. I mean, he kind of put the May McConville office that we had in St. Thomas on steroids, and we were doing, $85,000-$95,000 a month, which, considering insurance is twice the price now, those numbers were pretty considerable. So we grew rapidly, and it was great. So I'm back with Randy. He wanted to bring me on. He ended up leaving May McConville before I did to go become the president and CEO of, I guess it would just be CEO of Insurance Brokers Association Ontario. Every new piece of technology, every new piece of information had to come through the IBAO. So, I mean, he set his finger on the pulse of the information for the longest time. And I almost went back to work for him at the IBAO. Timing wasn't right. More so from his standpoint, I was ready to go. I like this guy so much, I said that I would make a lateral move to come and work for you. But no, this is Pacific Marine is growing. The price is just going to go up. Whenever it happens, I'll make the lateral move. And I think it was probably 4 years later, and Paul Taylor, who I mentioned earlier, he said, Andy, I can't have somebody make more money than I do. And I says, well, you got to think about this. Think of any insurance office. Do you think your commercial lines manager makes as much as your top producer? Probably not.
No.
You know, you have to have that guy who's engaged. And I mentioned network earlier. My network is extensive.
Mm.
You know, and you know, even he would make the comment. You know, nobody knows how valuable our network is more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's huge, and I'm grateful for that. That I can pick up the phone and call anybody that I need, and they'll take my call. So, Randy, probably 3 or 4 years ago, he left the IBAO,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, a position like that, 10 years is probably that right number. And so he moved on and he started this consulting business. And really, he's just helping other people be successful at the insurance industry as he did me.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of great lessons learned there. You know, a great mentor, great coach. Like I said, he certainly took my career in a different direction. So now I'm consulting, and I have a portfolio of 4 companies that I'll be trying to take to the next level.
Perfect.
You know what? And I'm going to say this to you as a former player: when you stop playing, you got to start coaching.
Yep.
You can't leave the game. Like, I left the game, and people says, "Oh, you're the smart one. You got out." And then it was like a year later, "Why'd you come back?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, insurance finds you.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know anybody that didn't get into the insurance business other than the guy, Jay was his name. Can't remember his last name. He was from Leamington. That he wanted to be an insurance guy.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us, we went, I got to find something to do.
Yeah.
It seems pretty cool. So ultimately, you know, when I talk about insurance, we can talk about insurance, we can talk about real estate, we can talk about mortgage broking, we can talk about anything you want to talk about. It really comes down to, you know, I've always viewed it as my sideline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a professional speaker. I'm a professional negotiator. I am a professional trainer. I'm a professional talker,
Yep.
networker, friend, pal, buddy. The list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to do insurance on the side.
Yeah.
This is where I get to make money. This is why I wake up every morning, is to come and have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation that you and I had before we went on live
Mm-hmm.
is a conversation that's probably been long overdue for about 20 years.
Between you and I, yeah. It's because I quit playing, wow, I can't even remember the math now, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And you had left the year prior to my overage year at 21, because as you said before, your wife was pregnant with your daughter, who I never met. I only met little Cole back walking through the room years and years and years ago. But yeah, going to the insurance, it's, you know, I remember being 17 years old and looking for an insurance switch and everything else, and all I hear is my GM go, "Hey, make you a deal." And what's that? You help me move all these goddamn boxes. I'll get you a rate. And that's kind of where, like, before that, you know, it was GM and player. You know, you signed me.
Yeah.
I was already there before you got there, but you would sign me, and, you know, that's where the relationship into more of a mentor, you know, a mentor and even a friend after the fact. Like, you know, we hadn't talked in 14 years. We both followed each other on Facebook, and it was, you know, doing a podcast, and it's, screw it. I haven't talked to Andy in a while. Let's see if he wants to come on. And it immediately, yeah, when?
I walked in your front door and it was like I just saw you last week.
Exactly.